It's been said if we lose that war, and in so doing, history will record with a great...
I will not violate my oath of office. We are free individual citizens. We are Americans. Quiet on the set. It's go time. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining me. I just got back from elk hunting. I think I told you guys last week I was going. I'm working on editing video from that hunt. And yes, there's going to be elk meat in the freezer. A big shout out to Lost Boy, who got his elk on day 2, part of our hunting party. I'll hopefully have the video out this weekend. I'm working on it, editing it, getting it together. So hopefully I'll put it out this weekend. But tonight, I've got a special guest. Now, you remember last week when I told you a little bit about a new product that I heard about that you can get 20% better gas mileage? Well, the person who introduced it to me is Kevin Hunter. And he's here tonight to explain how you can save money on gas and diesel expenses. Now, don't forget about my sponsor, Minuteman Coffee. It's my freedom juice. Let's go.
Don Amon here, president and founder of Minuteman Coffee. Want to welcome you to the coffee revolution. We may not be everybody's cup of tea, but we are the coffee for we the people. Come join this coffee revolution, see what all the hype is about, and help us restore the republic.
Welcome to the show, Kevin Hunter. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. Glad to join you.
Absolutely. Excellent to see you. So this craze that is happening right now with people saving on their fuel, getting better miles per gallon, cleaning their engines. You're the person that introduced me to XCAP. Can you explain to everyone what you told me?
Yeah, so maybe to share with you a little background how I came to become aware of the MPG Extreme XCAP. This is the product, by the way, if you can see it on the camera. Comes in 5 capsules in a nice little pack like this. Anyhow, so I came to find out about the MPG Extreme XCAP out of a friend of mine who was in Minneapolis, St. Paul area at the time, and he is one of these car buffs. Drives really expensive cars, hot rod guy, and big time up on all the gadgets and things like that when it comes to cars and automotive related stuff. And so when he called me and told me that he was running these XCAPs in his Boss 302, which if people do a little homework on that, you can see that a mint condition Boss 302, that gets up into 6 figures in the cost of those cars. A very expensive vehicle. And so I knew right away anything that Mike would run in his vehicles, I'd be happy to run in mine. And so kind of that's where I got introduced to the MPG Extreme XCAP. But he also sent me video footage of a news station out of West Virginia. It's WSAZ Channel 3. They actually did an investigative report on the fuel cap to see how it worked.
Yeah, Tim, we drove to Charleston and back twice this afternoon to find out whether or not this so-called magic pill could pass our test in a News Channel 3 investigation. We start our project by filling up one of the WSAZ vehicles with a full tank of gasoline. Decided to drive from Huntington to Charleston and back, and that's about 100 miles. It took 5.2 gallons of gasoline for the 2-hour trip to Charleston and back. Now we're going to make the same trip again, this time with a full tank of gas and this MPG fuel cap inside. It's supposed to increase our mileage. We'll see what happens. MPG capsule is supposed to increase our mileage. Remember, without the pill, it took a little more than 5 gallons our first trip. Our last trip to Charleston, we filled the tank and found we drove 100 miles and used 4.2 gallons of gasoline.
Dave, even though they are starting to sell these pills locally, you can find them easily on the internet.
That's right.
All right. Hey, thanks, Dave.
So for those of you who like to do the math, that first trip was 19.23 miles per gallon, and the second trip with the X-Cap was 23.8 miles per gallon, which is a 23.5 miles per gallon improvement. Well, I'm a long timer on YouTube. I broadcast the Homework Guy show, and I decided, you know what, if I'm going to share this with my audience, I'm going to test it myself. And so, as you know, Loren, I drive a 2007 Ford F-150. Turns out this is one of the perfect vehicles to try the X-Cap with. I drove my vehicle from Williston, where I happen to live, to Minot. Anybody who's been up here to North Dakota, it's so flat that you can watch your dog run away for 3 days. But I took the round trip all the way out there and back, 240-mile round trip, and established my base fuel economy. Now, for people who are unsure of how to do this, basically what you do is you put the pump into the tank and let it run till it clicks and shuts off by itself. So that's what I did. The vehicle tanked up. I did that first leg of that trip. 15.88 miles per gallon was my fuel economy as a baseline fuel economy before I put the X-Cap into my tank. And then I put the product into my tank. And because I understood that this product also reduces emissions, I was called some local shops because I was thinking maybe I could have a smog test down on my truck, and couldn't find anybody. There's no emissions related testing here in North Dakota at all. So no shops had it. But a mechanic says, hey, do you have a diagnostic tool? And I said, yeah, I do. He goes, hook it up and monitor your catalytic converter temperature. And so I did. And he goes, if you have less emissions, that catalytic converter temperature is going to be cooler. So on the first leg of the trip, when I got that 15.88 miles per gallon, the catalytic converter temperatures ran around 1,400 degrees. And then on the next trip, I knew right away that something had changed, because I start seeing 1,300 degrees, then 12.5, and I finished the trip with my catalytic converter sitting at 1,180 degrees. So basically 300 degrees cooler. And I could tell just by looking at the fuel gauge, because I used less gas to go out and back. And then when I checked my fuel economy on the second leg of the trip with a fuel cap, my gas mileage was at 19.43, which is a 22.3% improvement. And that excited the heck out of me, because I'm going, here these news guys showed 23.5%. I wasn't about to tell that story to people without having my own story. And so anyhow, that's where my fuel economy went. And then by sharing those two stories with my viewing audience, we've had hundreds of people from all around the country have jumped on board to get the product and try it. Some I've sent samples to, others just signed on as customers. I happen to lead the company right now in retail sales, so I have the most customers. I can pretty much tell you what kinds of vehicles this works the best with. And yes, there are some ideal candidates, and there are some less than ideal candidates. If somebody's driving a brand spanking new car that has very advanced EGR, exhaust gas recirculation technology, it is tending to use a percentage of the unburnt fuel that goes into the exhaust system already. And so the X-Cap, it's part of what the X-Cap does, is it creates a higher percentage of combustion. And so for those vehicles, the X-Cap seems to produce a lesser result. And then the other one would be hybrids. But a lot of other really great candidates are out there on the road. So one review came back from our viewer, Arthur, who was driving a 2019 Hyundai Santa Fe. And he went from 27 miles per gallon to 32.6 miles per gallon, a 20.7% improvement. And then I had a local contractor here in Williston, North Dakota, who asked me for some X-Caps before he took off on vacation. And cruising with the vehicle on the highway on the way to Michigan from here, going 70 miles an hour on the highway, he got 14 miles per gallon with the truck prior to putting the X-Cap in his tank, and 17 miles per gallon after putting the X-Cap in his tank. So
those
again,
are amazing results.
Yeah, again, a 21% improvement. So pretty big deal. And then he's thinking outside the box a little bit. He had taken his boat out on the lake that following weekend when he got home. And he said, hey, this helped my truck so much. I wonder if it'll work in the boat. So let's try it in the boat. And he dropped the X cap into his tank of fuel. Now, you got to remember this. One capsule treats 11 to 20 gallons. So depending upon what the size of your tank is, you know, I tell people they can run it in their lawnmower. I'm running it in my riding tractor, but I mixed it in a can of gas first and put a half cap in 5 gallons of gas. Well, anyhow, he dropped the capsule in the tank of his boat, and I'm not sure what the tank size was, but he said 30 minutes after that capsule dropped into the tank, all of a sudden his boat just starts popping the skiers out of the water like nobody's business. He's going, there was a huge difference in how the boat performed. So I was like, wow,
amazing.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Then we had another viewer send us his test results on a 2005 Ford Escape. He went from 18 to 22.4 miles per gallon. That one was a 24.5% improvement. And then one of the best results came back on a diesel truck. This was a 2005 Ford F350. Gary went from 14.2 miles per gallon to 18.2 miles per gallon. That is a whopping 28% improvement.
In a diesel, right? This is good for gas and diesel vehicles, correct?
Gas and diesel, yes. And that was a diesel truck.
If you look at the action of a standard automobile or internal combustion engine, the 4 cycles involved are the intake cycle, the compression cycle, the power cycle, and the exhaust cycle. What actually happens in a standard automobile without the MPG cap is the combustion cycle does not complete the combustion in the combustion chamber. In fact, if you take the exhaust manifold off of most internal combustion engines, you will see fire exiting the exhaust system during the exhaust cycle. Now, once the MPG cap is placed into the fuel, whether it be gasoline or diesel, and dispersed in the fuel becomes a carrier and takes the MPG cap, which is a catalyst, into the combustion chamber. In the combustion chamber, the catalyst accelerates the combustion, causing it to complete in the combustion chamber itself. This yields more horsepower. Also, does not allow as much heat to go out the exhaust. Exhaust temperature goes down, and this increases the efficiency of the engine, both in mileage and in horsepower.
Here's another thing to know about the X-Cap is that because it creates a much cleaner burn in the fuel, there's a lot of newer, drivers going around with those newer diesel trucks that require DEF. And they also have what's known as a DPF regeneration cycle that they run periodically. And I understand that to get a regeneration thing done at a shop runs between $175 and $300. Somebody out there in the viewing audience who has that experience can share, correct me if I'm wrong. But anyhow, so one of the things that the X-Cap does is greatly reduce emissions. And subsequently, these guys driving these diesel trucks have reported to me that they're no longer using DEF in their diesel truck. And they didn't require a DPF, which is the diesel particulate filter regeneration. So it cleaned up the burn in the diesel truck that much.
Wow.
So, yeah, and anybody driving one of these diesel trucks using DEF knows that the product isn't cheap, and it's quite an inconvenience to make sure that you're tanked up on that stuff. So here's another interesting thing that also came from viewers. Driving Mercedes or BMWs or some of the Cadillac sedans or turbocharged vehicles, that many of which require premium gas. So I don't know what you see at your pumps in Washington, but a lot of the premium gas pumps here in North Dakota, the premium gas is 91 versus the regular unleaded at 87. And the X-Cap adds 6 to 8 points of octane to the fuel. So that means 87 octane becomes 93 to 95 octane. So these drivers of Mercedes and BMWs are actually getting a more octane rich fuel. And so not only are they immediately saving on average 67 cents a gallon because they don't have to buy premium, they can just run regular 87 octane with this X-Cap. So those cars typically have like a 16 to 17 gallon tank. So they're saving $11, $12 right on the spot just by putting an X cap into the tank.
Yeah, not only better mileage, but the cheaper, greater gas.
Bingo.
That's
Bingo.
amazing.
Yeah. So there's a lot of reasons. Anybody who's in your viewing audience, Loren, who happens to be driving a semi, the semi drivers' reports that have come in from around the country have been off the hook. These guys are running really big quantities of fuel, 100, 200, 300 gallons. And a driver who had a 100-gallon tank in his truck dropped in 5 of these X caps, because one capsule treats between 11 and 20 gallons. So he put 5 caps into his tank. And he was getting 4.6 miles per gallon with this semi before the X cap, and his fuel economy went to 6.2. You know what kind of difference that means for the range of that semi? Like,
Yeah.
huge.
Plus the money in his pocket, not having to go out on fuel. I mean, gas and diesel both are very expensive right now, and they're probably going to get even more expensive. So it sounds like an awesome product to help people save some money.
Wait till after the midterms come. I think, gas, right? We've been seeing gas coming down for a while here leading into the election, but election has those kinds of effects. And so they're trying to reduce the cost of gas right now to help take a little pressure off of a change in political leadership in Washington, D.C., but I don't think that's going to make any difference at all. I do expect the conservatives to steamroll the House and take it back. But wait till after the midterms, the price of gas is going to balloon again.
Right. Even if we do take back the House and Senate, it's going to be hard to force Biden to change his policies on American energy. That's for sure.
That's exactly right.
So
That's exactly right.
anything I can do to help people save money in their budget, cutting their fuel costs, I'm all for it. So I'll be putting up a link here for everybody. You can click on it and go check it out. Now, Kevin, this is also the opportunity for a home-based business for people, correct?
Yeah. If people like, hey, you know what? That not only sounds like a great product for me, but I would consider being part of the, starting my own home-based business with it. There's the opportunity to do that. And even if somebody should decide that, hey, sales isn't necessarily for me, there's a couple of different options in which you can get it. And so when they go to your Join Now page, one option is a preferred customer option, and that's $29.95. I believe you get 20 caps with that. I could be wrong about that because I haven't actually placed a customer order myself. All my orders have been as a independent sales rep. But the cheapest way to buy this cap by far is 100 caps for $1.99 plus shipping. And so for about $2 each, your cost is at, and you get a fantastic product. And you know what? For somebody who's out there going 100 caps, that seems like a lot. I guess I'd throw the question back at them. What are the chances that you're going to keep burning fuel?
Pretty high, right?
Pretty high, yes.
Yeah. And if we can save on the get better fuel economy, that's money in our pocket. So $2 a tank full, basically, to save 20% on your fuel costs. Sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
Yes.
All right. I'll put up the links, and thank you for joining us, Kevin, and explaining all that. I really appreciate it. And hope things are going good for you in South Dakota.
I'm actually in North Dakota now in
Williston. North Dakota. Okay.
Yeah, we headed north a little bit. So yeah, no, I'm glad to share about this product with your viewers, Loren. And I'll tell you what, I've been making a living out of helping the average Joe and consumers out there. And man, when this thing came along and I tested it and I got a similar result to what the Channel 3 news team got, I was like, I'm going to sell the crap out of this. And we have. We lead the company in retail sales. And I wish you the very best with this, Loren.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kevin. And you guys be sure to check out the Homework Guy on his YouTube channel. Thank you again, Kevin. I appreciate it.
All right. Take care.
All right. You too. There you have it. If you want to try X caps and see how much money you can save on your fuel bill, just follow the link. And remember, you guys, never back down, never give in, always stay in the fight. God bless you guys, and good night. Please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I post future videos.